Good morning and welcome to the Grand Sports Center. This is the Friday edition of the program and the last for the week. And as like I always tell you, we are always happy to be here with you to serve you the very best of sports on the program. I am Donald Agbabobo. We have quite a lot lined up for you. We shall be talking about the Waffle B tournament taking place in Lome, Togo, where the Flying Eagles, where the Golden Eaglets have been charged to bounce back from their 1-0 loss to Ivory Coast when they take on Ghana on Saturday. That's coming from the president of the Nigerian Football Federation, Amaju Pinnick. Eyimba of Aba and Rivers United will know their opponent in the next round of the CAF Confederations Cup as the draws are set to hold today in Cairo. And top International Olympic Committee member has cast doubt on over Tokyo 2020 Olympics holding this year. This is as a result of the spike in coronavirus cases and the new restriction put in place by the Japanese government in the city of Tokyo. Also, we shall be talking about the world boxing heavyweight champion, our own Anthony Joshua, who has fixed a date for retirement. Well, we shall be looking at the proposed date and why should we be talking about that at this point in time in his career. And English FA Cup fixtures are supposed to hold this weekend. Already it's been beclouded by COVID-19 scare as a number of games have been postponed, while some are being threatened already, not even sure of those games holding. We shall be looking at those fixtures. And the Nigerian Basketball Federation say they are set for a busy schedule in the 2021 schedule that includes participating in the Tokyo Olympic Games, both for the men and women team, and also in the AfroBasket male and women competitions. We also have Super Eagles Watch, where we shall be taking a look at the performance of Super Eagles players as they do their thing for their various clubs in different parts of the world, and many more on the program. So sit back and enjoy yourself, and let me welcome my colleagues who will be joining me in doing justice to the program today. Austin Arume, you're welcome to the program.
It's my pleasure to be here.
And Blessing Bassi, always good to have you.
It's good to be here as well.
So we'll take a short break, and when we return, we'll go straight into the main issues of the day. Welcome back to the Grand Sports Center, and straight away we shall be talking about the Waffle B tournament, or the 17th tournament taking place in Togo. President of the Nigerian Football Federation, Amaju Pinnick, I'm sure he's not a very happy man, because after the disappointments of the Flying Eagles in Benin when they failed to qualify in the Waffle B under 20 tournament, the Golden Eaglets got their own competition off on a very bad note when they lost to Cote d'Ivoire or Ivory Coast in their first match on Wednesday. But then Amaju Pinnick is not losing hope. He has visited the team in camp and has challenged them to bounce back when they take on Ghana. Austin, the same scenario is repeating itself again.
Yeah.
So should we have hope of the Golden Eaglets not going the way of the Flying Eagles?
At this point in time, anything is possible. You know, the Ghana side, you know, they're here to play a game. I think the first game will be against Nigeria. If we want to qualify, I think we have to win this match. We have to take this very seriously. So at the end of the day, we'll not be trading blames, just like what we're doing when the Flying Eagles were actually knocked out of the Waffle under 20 tournament. So I think all hands should be on deck to make sure that, you know, these guys don't get distracted. I believe we have what it takes to actually qualify to the next round of the tournament.
The Flying Eagles, the Golden Eaglets, have found themselves in this kind of precarious situation again. But then we were talking on Wednesday about the fact that the MRI test was coming late. And we're talking about the possibility of it affecting the player's psychology. Could it have been possible that the fact that the MRI test was conducted late also affected the team mentally?
Well, yeah, I think the MRI test could have affected it if Golden Eagles one way or the other. But I want to believe that the Golden Eagles should be more hungry this time around. Let's just go past the fact that they've obviously lost against um, Ivory Coast, and they shouldn't trade the part of the Flying Eagles. The way it went was just unexpected, and we expect the Golden Eagle to go, more hungry against Ghana, because Ghana will obviously, being that is their first game, will want to make a great impact in the competition.
Well, the NFF chairman, President Ahmad Yupinik, in his words when he was addressing players, used a particular word, rugged, said you must be positively rugged. It's trying to like tell you that there's this Nigerian mentality that we have, that we were not held down by any odds that we find ourselves. We were always able to rise above every odds that we stand on our way, and it's charging the players to imbibe that mentality. And well, this team, just like we said about the Flying Eagles, found themselves in almost the same situation. Yeah. The same team having to win their second match, just like the Flying Eagles found themselves. In the space of a month or two of our different age group competition teams have found themselves in this situation. Is there something we're doing that we're not really doing well? Because they said if you're doing something a certain way, if it's not working out, you should change. So are we doing, is there a way we're going about this thing that is not just right, because it's happening once too many?
Yeah, and I think we're not doing it the right way. Why I said it is the fact that when we have a project like this and we have a particular plan we want to work out with, but if that plan does not work, you see us, we're trying another set of people. Now, this is age grade competition. It's not necessarily compulsory that they must actually qualify. The most important thing at this point is to build these guys, keep building, have a plan, to build these players from under 15 level, from under 14, under 13. You move them into the under 17, under 20, like that. And this is something that works for other clients, so we can also imbibe that culture in our football, and I believe it will work for us instead of us to be doing all this try and error. I think it will do us more good to have a working plan in that regard.
Austin, I guess you must have to revisit what you said, that we must not qualify. I agree it's developmental,
yeah.
But then the issue of not qualifying is something that we should actually look at, because the purpose of going for a competition
is to qualify.
Yeah. But if you say you must not win, I think it's a different ballgame. But not qualifying, I guess the minimum requirement is to qualify. Because if you don't qualify, it also affects the development of the players, because they need to rub shoulders with their peers from across the world. That's why they need to qualify and go for the international tournament.
Why I actually said that is the fact that we tend to abandon a particular project even when it does not work out. That was why I did mention that.
Maybe I'm relating it with the coaches.
Yeah,
now, talking about the coaches, maybe I'll take blessing on this. The coaches, now the Flying Eagles coach, Grande has already talked about certain things that were not done with his team that's been done with this team, showing an improvement in part of the football authorities, but then it didn't work out, at least as far as the first match is concerned. We're hoping that by Saturday they'll be able to redeem themselves. But then this also another coach now, Fatah Mowdi, on the 17th. Come what may, they qualify, they don't qualify. Would it be right for in terms of what Austin is saying, development, to leave these coaches in place? Because we just appointed a few months ago. It was like they were appointed just to come and prosecute this tournament. But some people will tell you that a coach that has a job to do in the next 2 years should start planning now. So these coaches, talking about Landa Amboso and Fatah Amao, I'm not sure knew they were going to be in charge of these teams at the beginning of last year, or even middle of the year, because the appointment came around September or thereabouts, were confirmed at about that time. So you see, would you advocate that they be left in charge no matter what happens, even with the Golden Eagles team?
Yeah, like they always say, better late than never, you know. So we are into this whole thing already. So we just have to think about, you know, moving ahead. You know, I get the fact that the Golden Eagles are obviously very young team so far. So I want to believe that they should look into the fact that the Nigerian, you know, government have to build, especially, you know, these young players. You know, not just like we always talk about, grassroots football is key no matter what, and also, you know, engaging these youngsters in, you know, in playing football. That way we'll get to pick out valuable talent from among football academies or football clubs within Nigeria. When these games are going on, you know, it helps to, you know, once you get to develop talent, you know, if a particular,
and that is why it's
yes,
necessary to have a coach in place.
exactly,
Because the coach needs some time to scout around for players. Because
sure,
we can't, and we don't. I don't think this coach really had the time to go around to get players. They just made do with
what they
players
have.
they had. You know, people that came for trials in Abuja. But ideally, they are even supposed to have gone around the country to pick players. So probably this is one of the issues we're having. From us, okay,
I don't know if I can add
Yeah,
the
go
fact
ahead.
that Gareth Southgate was coach of the England under 20 side for a very long time. I think they didn't win any trophy with him, but then he was promoted after a period of time. He's handling the
And they've
national
not
team
still
now,
won anything in the
and
national team.
they've not still won anything. But then you see the development. Most of those boys in the senior national team now were his boys when he was the under 20 coach, and they can testify to that. So I think this is something we must have. We must have a workable plan. You know, we cannot at every point in time there's a tournament. We just do the fire brigade approach, and then when we crash out, we start complaining and we move towards another direction again. What I'm saying is we must have a plan. We must continue with a plan.
Yeah, I think Nigeria, we have this penchant from abandoning some things we were doing right before. We were into this before. Former coaches of Super Eagles were from the Flying Eagles. At least I can remember Chris Udomezwe, 1985. He was coach of the Flying Eagles when they went for the Under 20 World Cup. Even as far back as 1983, he started from there. Then 85 too, they went for Mexico 83, qualified for the first time, qualified for Moscow 85. And then he went to the Super Eagles as a coach. Paul Hamilton as well was coach of the Flying Eagles when they played in the 87 World Cup also. And he was later coach of Super Eagles. There was this graduation, and fine, we may not have won much at that time, but there was this steady progress, and it's something that we should revisit. Other countries have tried it as well. Jose Peckerman won the World Cup with Argentina under 20, and then moved in 1996 to the national team. He took them to the World Cup in 1996. They crushed out in the quarterfinals, but that team was reputed to be one of the best Argentine team. Lionel Messi was just coming up then, but he played some very, very good football with Juan Racame pulling the strings in the midfield. We also had even the Spanish national team. I've also tried it out. Inaki Saiz won the under 20 in 1999 with the team in Nigeria when Nigeria hosted the World Cup. He later became national team coach as well. So it's a model that works. So maybe we should also look at that and try and see how we can implement it. It's just about continuity. So what we're saying is that no matter what happens at the end of the day, Saturday, if Golden England refused to fly, the coaches, Madam Bosso and Fatah Amal, should just really be left in place so that they have enough time to prepare for the next tournament, so that this kind of ugly incidents will not rear its head again. It's like we're having a fire brigade approach. That's why we're having these two teams like we've seen in recent times in Benin with under 20 and now in Lome with the under 17. Things are actually working out. But like we said, we have not actually professed of doom. The under 17 team is not yet out, so we're hoping that they actually redeem themselves on Saturday when they take on Ghana. So we shall take another break, and when we return, we shall be talking about the CAF Confederations Cup, in which Nigeria now has two teams. Well, you should be celebrating that you have two teams in a competition, but it's as a result of a bad incident, because we had to drop from the CAF Champions League, which is more prestigious. Enyimba had to drop in the Nine CAF Confederations Cup. So now Enyimba and Rivers United, they'll be knowing their opponents later today when the draws will hold. And we shall use the opportunity to also analyze what actually happened, why Enyimba found themselves in this situation, and what we look forward to in the CAF Confederations Cup, which is where we now have all our hopes talking about continental football in Africa. So we'll take the break now. Welcome back to the Grand Sports Center and Nigeria's representatives in the CAF Confederations Cup. Enyimba and Rivers United will get to know their opponents later today. But we're still shrouded in, we're still not gotten over the Enyimba loss. Yeah. And but then we found ourselves in a situation. If we had admitted to ourselves that that game was as good as being over after the first leg match, probably wouldn't have been as disappointed as well. Maybe we just fail to tell ourselves that, hey, because in modern times, you just don't go away to lose by 3-0 and expect a miracle to happen.
Yeah, I think it would have been bad if we admit ourselves, that all hope is lost. Most of the things we say at times is just to encourage the boys, so as they will not give up that hope, because we know in football everything is possible. We know what happened to Barcelona in 2018-2019 season when Liverpool won the Champions League. You also saw what happened to them the previous season when they were knocked out by Roma. They won 4-1 at home, and then they went away and they were knocked out. So you can say that with football, anything is actually possible. But then I think the Enyimba side actually lost that game away in Underman, just like the former player Victor Nwadiri was saying yesterday. He said they actually lost that game from that very day.
That's what I'm saying. I said because you just give yourself an equivalent task when you lose by 3-0. Probably again, maybe just like Austin Eguavoen, the technical director of Nigerian Federation, said, Enyimba, the injury problems in the team affected them, because Victor Obama, who scored 2 goals in the second leg, didn't play the first leg match, and probably if he was around the first leg, would have been able to pull a goal back, because a 3-1 would have been much more better than a 3-0. Yeah. And of course, the captain of the team, Austin Oladapos, also didn't play any of the matches, both the first leg and the second leg. But these are key members of the team, so injuries too played a role in the team. But then injuries are part of the game, so should they actually be tenable excuses?
Yeah, I think injury actually played a very serious role in the game against Emmerich. I think, like we said, Victor Goma scored the 2 winning goals for Enyimba. If he were to be in Emmerich, he would have obviously reduced the tally. So I think, if you'd ask me, injury played a very key role in that game, although it might not be an excuse, but I want to believe that, yes, because another thing is Enyimba actually did not, put in their best, and the fact that these key players were obviously missing Austin and Victor Oguma, if they were to be there, they were obviously key players for Enyimba.
Okay, we probably again we have to admit that they lost to a better side, because Emmerich appeared to be very prepared, and they had a game plan. Coming to Nigeria, they said they were going to score a goal, and which they achieved. So sometimes the coach of Enyimba felt to him that she was already taking responsibility, but then it's mind blowing to know that they missed out on a massive windfall of about $550,000, which is about 253 million naira, or naira, should they have qualified for the next round of the competition. And we know how far such money could go for a club like Enyimba in these COVID-19 times.
I think it's quite unfortunate because if you look at that money, that would have helped them other regards as far as the arrangement is concerned. But then they have missed out of the windfall, as the case may be. But then they have to keep pushing. It's not over. They are still in the Confederations Cup, and then their target now is just to make up for what has happened in the Champions League.
Now, the other team, Rivers United, they hold a 2-goal lead, but unfortunately their match did not hold, not their fault, because Blue from 2070s could not make it to the country due to the new COVID-19 travel restrictions put in place by the Nigerian government. So we're looking at having 2 Nigerian teams in this next round, because no matter what CAF decisions is, we see Rivers United having that edge, qualifying. So we are hoping that we have better Rivers United. So should Confederations Cup now present a very good opportunity for Nigeria to win the continental competition this year, being that we have 2 teams?
Yeah, I think the Confederation Cup should obviously, present the Nigerian team to of doing well. Yes, making greater opportunities and redeeming themselves, especially on the part of Eyimba. I know they would have looked at the fact that they obviously lost, especially that huge amount of money, and the fact that they will probably feel bad if they had done better, especially their first game against El Marek. I want to believe that the 2 Nigerian team would basically look at what has happened so far, especially when it comes to Nigerian football and how things are obviously going, of recent. So I want to believe that they would tactically look at things and obviously want to perform very well in the Confederation Cup.
Yes, also there's must also let you know that there's money also attached to the Confederation Cup, so not as much as the CAF Confederation Cup. And with the league starting, we are hoping that these Nigerian teams will get better game after game, and the Confederation Cup they will be able to put up a much better performance. So we take a break, and next we'll be talking about the Tokyo 2020 Olympics, which is now going to hold this year. Uncertainty surrounds it because of the new restrictions put in place by the Japanese government in the city of Tokyo due to a spike in coronavirus infections in that town. So Dick Pound, who is interestingly is the longest serving member of the International Olympic Committee, IOC, so he should know when he's talking about having doubts about the Tokyo Olympics holding this year. I think the world should listen. We shall talk about that when we come back from this break. Welcome back to the Grand Sports Center on the Grand Sport Extra, and we're talking about the Tokyo Olympic Games next. And one of the longest serving members of the International Olympic Committee, IOC, Dick Pound, has suggested that has expressed doubts about the Tokyo Games holding this year, and this is not for any other reason other than the fact that the new restrictions being put in place by Japanese government over the city of Tokyo due to the spike in COVID-19 cases actually affect preparations for the games. The games are supposed to hold between July 22nd and 8th of August this year. Austin, when people like Dick Pound start expressing doubt, we should really listen and be very watchful, right?
Yeah, I think part of that is down to the fact that the cases of COVID-19 is on the rise daily, and coming from an experienced guy like the Pound,
administrator like that.
Yeah, I think you have to pause and think about it, and this is not something we want. But then, just like we say it here, life is paramount, and if there's anything that will actually have to make this work, I think they should actually try it and wait and see how that is going to pan out. But then coming from Dick Pound this morning, it's actually beginning to make me doubt if this Olympic will actually hold?
Because the Japanese Prime Minister Yoshida Suga, in announcing the emergency plans in place for Tokyo, actually said that there was a sense of crisis in Tokyo, and are we not actually hiding from the truth? Maybe we face reality. Though we still have about 6 months to it, but then you know how this thing happens fast.
Yeah, we get the fact that there's a situation on ground, but I want to believe that with what is going on and the fact that Japan is obviously trying to prepare a safe, and secure environment, or a safe and secure Olympics for the teams competing. There was a state of emergency at this point, and all this boils down to the fact that they are trying to put things in place, because I believe the Olympics will still hold irrespective. It's in July, so there's a little more time.
I want to show you optimism, but even the locals, the Japanese people, are not too optimistic, because a recent poll by local station NHK, national broadcaster NHK in Japan, showed that majority of Japanese actually opposed holding the games this year. They want a further delay or even an outright cancellation. So that's the mindset. So, and these are people that are supposed to be eager, preparing, for a massive, a big competition like that. So if you're not too eager, how far do you think the spirit of the Olympics will actually be in place by the time the games hold?
Yeah, they are not obviously sure. When you hear the Olympics obviously holding in Japan, and the cases of coronavirus, outblown, especially in that regions of the world. So they are obviously not quite sure. The locals, like you said, due to what is surrounding them, and due to what they might, have faced one way or the other. But at the same time, the Olympics is for everyone. It's especially for those who are obviously participating one way or the other. So the Olympic Committee are looking forward towards, people who are willing to, especially athletes who are willing to enjoy, their games, work towards, making this Olympic hold.
As of now, most of the organizing committee, the IOC, the Japanese authorities, they're still not even too sure. They've not settled on a particular modality for athletes, because while some people want all athletes vaccinated before coming for the Olympics, I think the IOC and the International Olympic Committee say they're not going to make it compulsory. So there's still this dilly-dallying over what to do, and it still adds to the uncertainty surrounding the games. Nothing is in place, as in fine, with certainty this thing is taking place. Also, given the fact that over $2.8 billion have been added to the initial cost of hosting the games. How feasible or how necessary is the Olympics? We know it's the biggest question, but in view of all the things surrounding it, even the cost of hosting has gone up. You're talking of safety issues here, and how necessary?
Yeah, I think this adds to what the pan was actually saying. Talking about some players wanting to vaccinate, while some might not want to be vaccinated. That is the case we have, and we know the world we are right now is a democratic world, and if we are going to hold a game of that magnitude with what we have on ground, I think they will have to agree to a certain level what is going to be the modality that they will put on ground to make sure that everything works well. And I think this is part of what the pound is looking at, because we are people with different mindset, different backgrounds, and what you want is quite different from what I want. So I think that will actually play out in delaying the games, and eventually it might even turn out that the games will not hold. And this is what the pound is talking about.
And the extra cost of hosting it, the 2.8 billion, in addition to the initial cost of hosting it, and it's already piling up. And who says between now and July, more costs will not be incurred, given the way the pandemic is rising by the day. We had actually Turkey actually recorded 2,447 new cases as of yesterday.
Wow. Well, like you said, there'll be obviously more costs to be incurred. That's the more reason why, they possibly trying to look into, trying to look into the fact that these games will be safely, organized, how to obviously control the COVID-19 pandemic, and looking at the fact that the Olympic Games holds at the end of the day, because even if it doesn't hold, there'll be more expenses and more costs incurred. We know the cases are rising. At the same time, that's why there's a need to vaccinate people, especially before the event proper.
Well, we keep our fingers crossed. We already had cases of fans having to ask for ticket refund. So the sales of tickets, talking about the revenue coming in, is already being affected. So a lot is happening. But then, as they say, the world must not give in to the pandemic. Things should actually go on. I believe the International Olympic Committee, IOC, and the Japanese government and all those involved in the game were able to come up with a robust plan that will ensure that these games goes ahead no matter what may, under the strictest safety situation that we can possibly give at the moment. We'll take another break, and when we return, we shall be talking boxing. Anthony Joshua is talking of retiring from the sport. Well, we shall talk about that when we return from this break. Welcome back to the Grand Sports Center, and we shall be talking boxing now. Interestingly, it's been talk of Anthony Joshua and Tyson Fury fight over the last couple of days, in fact, in the last couple of weeks. And but this time around, something new about Anthony Joshua is talking about retiring. Well, some people would tell you are at top of your game at the moment, and why even thinking of retiring, though he's not retiring immediately, say in the next 5 years, but then why should such thought even come up? One was tempted to ask, but then it's Anthony Joshua for you, and what does this tell you about the mindset of this young man?
I think as a boxer, Anthony Joshua has already achieved a lot in the game, and probably he's thinking about the future. We had a certain Israel Adesanya, who has tried 3 different kind of fights, and probably he's thinking of something else, or probably throwing that line.
At that age, you're going to mixed martial arts?
He might be thinking of going into another thing.
Because he's 32 now. Even 5 years time, he will be 37.
Yeah.
So at that age, is it safe to go into mixed martial arts? Israel Adesanya, you are citing. I've done that earlier on in his career.
Yeah, I think at one point in time, Ferdinand actually thought about going into boxing. I don't know what changed his mind. Rio Ferdinand. He thought about going into boxing. I think he trained, and I don't know what happened. It later changed his mind. Probably Anthony Joshua is thinking.
A number of times by his sparring partner, and then decided to have a routine.
Yeah.
Well, blessing. Would it be just be part of the gimmick, the game plan, just to attract attention? The build up to the fight, so much is happening about it. So, now he's talking about retiring from the sport, maybe looking at beating Tyson Fury as his last major. After beating Tyson Fury, maybe nobody else to give him competition, they will not be thinking of retiring. It's all part of it all. But then, How serious do you think Anthony Joshua is?
Well, I think Anthony Joshua obviously, achieved a lot, and he has every right to say he's living at a particular period of time. I want to believe that Anthony Joshua knows what he wants, obviously, and like you said, I think the big fight with Tyson Fury is the one that will seal it out for Anthony Joshua. So I probably thought it's going to end like probably Klitschko, who had a longer, period.
And thank you for mentioning that. That's what Tyson Fury is saying. Tyson Fury is older. He once became a professional 5 years before Anthony Joshua. He's not even talking of retiring. He says he wants to have a long run like Vitaly Klitschko, and Anthony Joshua is not thinking along that line. Some people will say it's Nigeria blood in him. We don't want to take chances. Meanwhile, the ovation is loudest, assuming he gets over Tyson Fury. But then we have known boxers. Why I ask is how serious he is, because we know that boxers, they retire, they come back. Hardly ever we've had a boxer, at least a prominent boxer that retired, that never came back to fight one more time or whatever. So is it just when Adesanya talking about retirement, she actually be talking about his first retirement?
Yes. I think it's just a mindset thing. If he wants to retire, he has every reason to do that. Probably he will retire and obviously, come back like you said. So it's a thing of the mind. So he might obviously want to continue, but now he's talking about his retirement. It shows that he, like you said, he wants to, have it all at a peak, and just, chill.
Well, we always respect his decisions because, to be frank and fair to him, he has had a very stellar career as a boxer. WBA, IBF, and WBO titles back. 2 times retained, lost it, got it back, and then the next big step is against Tyson Fury. Hopefully, he gets over that one as well. Then that will be another feather to his cap. So after that, probably the young man is looking at the fact that what will be left for me to actually aim at again in the sport. So he's talking about giving himself a 5-year plan to retire. But then his opponent, his likely next opponent as a Fury, is looking at a longer reign as champion, longer reign as world champ, which means he's very sure of beating Anthony Joshua, like he said. Because he's going to have a longer reign as champion. That means that Joshua will have to fall too.
I wouldn't want to say that, because Anthony Joshua, for me, is not going to be a pushover for Tyson Fury. And for God's sake, Anthony Joshua is an Olympic gold medalist. It's not just, he has done it all over. Probably this is maybe one of the reasons why he wants to retire. Probably he wants to make a statement by beating Tyson Fury and then retire. But then anything is possible. He can still, change his mind and decide to continue to probably 40 before he retires.
We wish him the very best, because even up until now, he has been a very good ambassador for the sport. So should he think of retiring even before the next 5 years he's talking about? I'm sure that the world will actually appreciate his effort for giving us something to cheer about in boxing. And we shall be taking another break, and when we return, we shall be talking about English FA Cup matches that have been threatened by coronavirus outbreak in Britain. Aston Villa have had to close down their training facility entirely. They have a match against Liverpool later tonight. Whether that match will hold remains to be seen, but they're thinking of feeding their 23 team. Some other matches like Derby against Shrewsbury has already been, against Clory has also been cancelled already. So we shall be talking about the fallouts of this COVID-19 spike in England as it affects the FA Cup round of matches slated for this weekend after this break. Welcome back to the Grand Sports Center, and Villa's training facility has been shut down, and the coach and technical crew and the entire team have been asked to stay away. is due to number of staff and players testing positive for COVID-19, and they have a match tonight against Liverpool in the FA Cup. And we understand that plans are on to have the under-23 team play, and that team will be coached by Mark Delaney, who is the under-23 coach. So even Dean Smith, who is the manager of Aston Villa, will not be available. So it's Liverpool versus Aston Villa under-23. Again, I ask, must these matches be played? The FA has its regulations that stipulates when a match can be called off. There are certain conditions that must be met.
Yeah.
At least we have quite a number of players testing positive, and they're not able to get up to 14 players. Then, but it appears the team, Aston Villa themselves, are not even exploring the possibility of postponing. They are ready to feed the under-23 team. Is this not actually having effect on the quality of the competition? The FA Cup is the oldest competition in the world, and we know how much English pride themselves in having this competition. So the one for this year is not already been tainted, given that most teams are having to feed second string teams, like we're going to see later this evening, should that match take place.
Yeah, I think it's going to have affect the quality of the competition, in the sense that, you know, there was a certain period, you know, Liverpool had to travel to Qatar to play the World Club Championship, where they had to field the under-23 side. We saw what happened. You know, that under-23 side were battered, you know, by the Villa side, and I think it does not speak well, you know, of the league to have something like that, to organize something like that. A tournament of that magnitude, you know, should have the player it deserves, you know, allow the match be postponed, so that when, you know, everybody is set, we can have a competitive game, not a game that will be, you know, a kind of one-sided, and it will actually affect the quality of the competition generally.
And are we seeing the fact that sponsors have already sponsors' money is already involved, because we have television rights and everything that needed to be met in terms of contract already signed, being at play here. That's why it's so difficult to have matches postponed, because ordinarily, literally, one would have thought that once there's a COVID-19 scare, this is not the making of any team or anybody. Happens to anybody. So every club should have the right to say we can't play because of COVID-19. And it's not something that you can hide, because the test will be there to prove it. Although the FA already has its conditions under which matches can be postponed, but sometimes, even if you have up to 14 players left, it's still a depletion of the team. So is it more have to do with meeting up with sponsorship requirements that is so difficult for these games to be shelved and moved to another date?
Well, let's first of all understand the fact that everyone is obviously involved in this COVID-19 situation. You know, whether the fact that sponsorship is being affected or not, like you said, teams have every right to, like, the records are there to show that yes, this particular team is affected, you know, and matches should be postponed as a result of players being affected, you know, due to COVID-19 and the rest. And the English FA, you know, obviously will look at it and say, okay, yes, these things, it's very obvious that this team is affected, and the club, the matches are being, you know, postponed one way or the other. But at the same time, if players are readily available, just a few, you know, and we know that they can obviously play their first team players, second 11, and, you know, young players. If they are available to play, why not just field to those players and, you know, make them play the game? And we obviously know that the game against Aston Villa and Liverpool is still going to hold irrespective, even if they, you know, field in there.
We're still not sure. They could decide to postpone it.
They can as well
minute,
put in there.
But Aston Villa, who are the team involved, are ready to go with the under-23. So, which means if they are ready to go, probably the FA will just go ahead and let them play. But what we are saying is, it doesn't affect the level. Won't there be a drop in the standard of what we're going to see? I think the fans watching at home deserve the best too. But again, it's one of those things. Other matches that have been affected: Southampton against Shrewsbury. Shrewsbury has players testing positive and staff, and also Derby County and Rooney, who's their coach, who are not also going to play their match against Collie on Saturday. So a lot of matches, and these are just the ones now. Today is another day. Probably we'll have more coming in, and it just revolves around the whole issue of COVID-19. I know you said it a while, some time ago, that the world must move on. It's not allow COVID-19 actually make us stop doing things, which I also very much agree.
Yeah.
But then we also deserve the very best quality performances from our teams.
Yeah.
Well, we'll keep our fingers crossed and see how events unfold. It's something that the world is dealing with, and we just have to deal with it the way we see it. And we hope that at the end of the day, there will not be a drop in the quality and standard of competitions that we see across the world, not just the English FA Cup. We are going to go on another short break, and when we return, we shall talk briefly about basketball, Nigerian Basketball Federation, talking about a busy schedule, and Olympics. They are going to play in the Olympics. They are going to play Afro basket. So is it not good to have your hands full rather than not having anything to do at all? So I guess it's something to celebrate, and they should be. They say they are fully ready to handle all that they have on their plates this year. So we shall be talking about that. The Vice President of the Federation, Babatunde Ogunade, was talking about this, and so we shall be exploring and looking at what actually is up for the Nigerian Basketball Federation going into 2021 that we're already in already. So we'll take a break and we'll come back. We shall be talking about that. Welcome back to the Grand Sports Center, and like I said earlier before we went to the break, the Basketball Federation Vice President Babatunde Ogunade says that they have their plate full 2021, and I say it's a good thing. Some federations don't even have competitions for this year because they fail to qualify for the Olympics, and so they are particularly activityless, let me use that word for now, pending when they're able to come up with one or two local competitions. So basketball has a lot to look forward to, and to be frank, to the Nigerian Basketball Federation, they've done very well. The team, the Tigers and the Tigers are doing very, very well. So Austin, the Olympics, male and female participating, how good can it be for Nigerian basketball? And I don't think that's been better than what we have now.
Yeah, it has never been better. This basketball side, the Tigers and the Tigers, 2020, even though there was no much activity, they were able to prove themselves, and this boils down to the plan of the Nigerian Basketball Federation. They've been able to identify where we need to add and where to subtract. Before now, Nigeria was there in the frame, maybe the top 3 or thereabout. But as it is right now,
top team
Nigeria is the best team in Africa.
And also they're targeting the world, because we know that a lot of Nigerian players playing in the NBA have shown interest of playing for the Tigers and the Tigers as well. So and that can only beef up the team. The Olympics is there, and we are already qualified there. Also the Afro basket, we are as good as qualified because we top our qualifying group already, and the national qualifiers, I understand, will take place in February. So talking about the Olympics and the Afro basket championship, we could say, okay, Nigerian basketball is on the right track. But the local league has not been held for about 2-3 years now. So is that not a dent on all the achievements we've had internationally? Because hey, the future of the game is in development of the game right here.
That's true. That's so true. I would say the Nigerian basketball is obviously making waves, judging away from the D Tigers, and the fact that the male and female are obviously going for the Olympics, which is a good one. Obviously this happens to be their first time, so they must have
Olympics. No, the men have been there.
Okay.
The men
have been there.
Yes.
So talking about the female, maybe, but the men have been at the Olympics.
Female,
so
obviously.
it's even good that they are even back to back for the last Olympics.
Yeah.
Yes, that's true. I just feel the Nigerian government should obviously support, the fact that the should support the basketball federation, and obviously put in more, effort into trying to make sure the league obviously starts, especially at in Nigeria,
And this is where we call on stakeholders who are involved in one litigation or the other that is making the league not to start, to actually shift sword, let the league start in Nigeria. The only thing about Nigerian basketball that is not good now is just this league. Every other thing is going very well. So at least let's get that for once, let's get 100%. Let's have one sport that's 100%. And if there's one sport that has potential to be 100%, should be basketball, because everything is doing very well. Top in Africa, qualify for Olympics, Afro basket is sure. Then let the league start and let's just make everything perfect.
Yeah, and one interesting thing about the female side is the fact that they played against the world champion at the Olympic qualifier. It was a close one. They lost by 71 to 76 points against the world champion. It shows that, there's progression. The United States of America.
I want you to say it so that everybody knows what's the world champion.
Yeah, so it's a close one, and that was their last game. That's the last game they played in 2020. So I believe going into 2021, I have this high hope, and I have this optimism that the Nigerian basketball, the Tigers, they'll give us happiness at the end of the 2021 Olympics if it's going to hold.
And also, apart from basketball, other sports are also bracing up for a very good outing this year. The Nigerian Boxing Federation are also looking forward to a very good outing in the Olympic qualifiers. The qualifiers for the boxing event, the Olympics, have not been held to be held in June, shortly before the Olympics starts. So the national coach, Mohamed Umar, is assuring that the boxers will be battle ready to ensure that we get as many slots as possible, pick as many tickets as possible for the boxing events of the Tokyo 2020 Olympics, which is taking place in 2021. Also, Nigeria, one of Nigeria's medal hopes in wrestling, Odunayo Adekoroye, who is African champion in her category, she has qualified for the Olympics, and she's one of the medal hopes we have in wrestling. She's doing very well. She's also calling for support and saying that the ministry, talking about those in charge of sports, should give them enough, the necessary support that they need, and they will deliver the goods. So much about sports in Nigeria. We shall take another break, and when we return, we shall be wrapping up with Super Eagles Watch. Welcome back to Grand Sports Center. As we wrap it up on the program, quickly we'll go over the Super Eagles Watch, where we talk about the performance of Nigerian players out there in different clubs across the world. And though there were no goals, no matches yesterday, but then Tawa Awoniyi has been in the among the goals in recent times. So far, he has scored 5 goals, and in his last 7 matches for Union Berlin in the German Bundesliga, and he's talking about scoring more goals. This one player who has seen his stock rise in recent times. After a slow start, he has picked up and is scoring the goals. He's saying that he's talking tough, he's sounding optimistic, says he wants to continue scoring the goals, and we know that if as long as he continues to do that, he will be in the frame for the Super Eagles. Another player talking today is Super Eagles midfielder Alex Iwobi, who says he wants to have a successful out time with Everton. He was transferred from Arsenal last year, and this is his second season with Everton. He didn't really establish himself at Arsenal as one of the main players, but it appears to be doing that in Everton. In his first season, it wasn't the same for him, but it appears to be doing that this year, featuring regularly. Those some people say it's because James Rodriguez is injured, but then in his matches he has played, he has given good account of himself. So there's a possibility that even if James Rodriguez comes back into the team, Alex Iwobi will still be part of the first team of Carlo Ancelotti, talking about the first 11. So he's talking about cementing his place and going on to be an important player for Everton in the coming throughout the season and beyond. And another player in the news is Maduka Okoye, who has seen his stock rise in recent times. He's now the joint goalkeeper with the highest market value, Nigerian goalkeeper with the highest market value. alongside Daniel Akpeyo Kaizer Chiefs. His market value is now rated at 600,000 euros. This is up from just 150,000 euros last 2 years ago when he made his debut against Brazil. Now is valued at 600,000 euros. So who says in the coming years, as time goes by, will not be attracting as much as 10 million? This is how it starts. He's been doing very well recent times. He has had good outings for Sparta Rotterdam. He has played about 11 matches for 8 matches in this season for Sparta Rotterdam. He has let in just 10 goals with 3 clean sheets. A good record for this young goalkeeper, who is fast established himself as Super Eagles #1. Though many people would dispute that. Well, it depends in the hands of Coach Kenneth Ross, Super Eagles coach. Another player who is in the news is Sunday Falaye, a former under-23 player and also part of the home-based Super Eagles in the past. He just signed a new contract. He has been transferred to FK Dukla Prague in the Czech 2nd division. Before now, he was actually playing. he just transferred to FK Dukla, and he said to have signed a 2-3-year contract with the team. He has made 33 appearances. He made 34 appearances for his former club, FC Wacker Innsbruck, and he scored 4 goals in 34 appearances. Well, he's still 22 years old, and probably at FK Dukla Prague, he will have more fortunes in front of goals. And finally, Victor Osimhen has come out to actually explain himself. He's been accused of having attended a controversial birthday party in Nigeria when he came on holiday. That's why he contracted coronavirus, which has seen him not play for Napoli this year. He said that he was never part of that party, that the party was organized for him, but he wasn't there. He was upstairs in the house. He was only called to come, and he came down briefly, just less than 10 minutes or thereabouts, then went back up. So it wasn't as if he was not careful enough to have prevented contracting the virus. It just happened, and that is what the situation is. So we hope that this puts to rest all the speculations concerning about being fined, about being suspended, about being disciplined by Napoli. I think it has happened, so we should move forward. We hope to see him back in the coming weeks as he's been given all clear to resume football action again following full recovery from his knee injury that he sustained while playing for Nigeria against Sierra Leone back in November. So that's Super Eagles Watch for today, and that is where we wrap it up on the program Grande Sports Center for today. The last edition for the week. We shall be back next week, Monday, with another interesting edition, and like I always tell you, we'll be looking forward to having you with us once again. I want to thank Austin Arume for always being part of the show.
Thank you for having me.
And Blessing Basti for your incisive contributions as well.
Thank you as well.
I am Donald Ababobo. I want to thank the backroom staff who have been doing a very remarkable job ensuring that you see us right there at home. And on behalf of all of us, we want to wish you a very lovely weekend ahead.